Hello, I'm Chris Barrow with the BBC News. The European Union has reached a deal which will allow Ukraine to continue exporting its crops through neighbouring countries. Poland, Slovakia, Hungary and Bulgaria had introduced restrictions on Ukrainian produce like wheat, saying it was undercutting their domestic prices. With the latest, here's Paul Moss.
This is a relief for all sides. The European Union has been a staunch ally of Ukraine since Russia invaded. So it was a spanner in the works of this warm relationship when Eastern European farmers started complaining about all the cheap Ukrainian agricultural produce coming across their borders. Ukraine's normal export route through the Black Sea has been restricted because of the war, and the crops were always supposed to be merely passing through Europe on their way to countries further afield. The EU says it will now make sure that happens and will compensate farmers for any loss of livelihood.
The leader of the paramilitary group fighting the army in Sudan says he's ready for peace talks if there's a cessation of hostilities. The current ceasefire has not held. In an interview with the BBC, General Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, known as Hemeti, accused the military of violating the truce by bombing the Rapid Support Forces positions.
We have agreed to the 72 hours ceasefire, and our counterpart has not complied with it. They violated the truce over 5 times. We agreed to another truce last night and made a commitment. Unfortunately, the government continues bombing us from their airplanes relentlessly since the morning. These people are not committed to the ceasefire.
The Sudanese army insists that it's Hemeti's troops who broke the ceasefire. Iran has announced that it's to reopen its embassy in Saudi Arabia within days, adding that Riyadh will follow suit in Tehran. The two countries, which broke off diplomatic relations in 2016, agreed to restore ties in March. Tensions have long been high between the two former regional rivals. Speaking in the Lebanese capital Beirut, Iran's Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian said improving bilateral relations would benefit the whole region.
The region is generally moving in a direction that suggests cooperation, communication and joint endeavours. We don't think this reconciliation and this rapprochement that's taken place recently between Iran and Saudi Arabia only serves the interest of the two countries. We believe that it's in the interest of the entire region.
Police in the Indian capital Delhi have launched an investigation into sexual harassment allegations against the head of the country's wrestling federation. Top female wrestling stars had approached the court demanding action against Brij Bhushan Singh, who's also an MP from the governing Hindu nationalist BJP. Mr. Singh and the federation have denied the allegations. This is the World News from the BBC. The US Central Bank has acknowledged that it failed to act with sufficient force and urgency in its oversight of Silicon Valley Bank, which collapsed last month in the country's biggest bank failure since 2008. The conclusion is one of the main findings from the Federal Reserve's investigation of the episode. The collapse of SVB caused global fears about the state of the banking industry. The United Nations has urged governments to stop forcibly returning Haitians who've left the country. Around 36,000 people were sent back to Haiti between January and March this year, despite widespread violence there. Here's our America regional editor, Phoebe Hobson.
A UN watchdog that looks into racial discrimination has expressed concern about how Haitians are being expelled back to the country. It suggests that countries are not properly assessing the risks some might face when returning. The UN has issued a series of warnings this week about Haiti's rampant gang violence. Some Haitian migrants that have made it to other countries are reported to have been subjected to racist violence and hate speech.
The United Arab Emirates has announced plans for its first luxury gaming resort. The nearly $4 billion project is to be built by a US casino operator, Wynn, on an artificial beach an hour's drive from Dubai. The resort will provide 1,500 hotel rooms, 24-hour dining and lounge areas, high-end shopping and nightly laser and light shows. It's due to open in early 2027. A voluptuous new statue of a mermaid has been making a splash in a fishing village in southern Italy. The sculpture, which overlooks a children's playground, depicts a mermaid with large breasts and buttocks, and some people say it's too provocative. But the head of the art school in Puglia, whose students produced it, defended the statue, calling it a tribute to the great majority of women who are curvy. On social media, though, there was some bewilderment. That's the latest BBC News.